A very warm welcome to you, 45 Morning Show. Yes, it is a Monday edition, still in January 2024. It feels good to be here, and I hope you woke up on the right side of the bed. I'm Adinke Oweye Ajiboye saying another warm welcome to the program.
I'd like to wish you a happy new week. And Patience Willie, welcome to the U45 Morning Show.
It's a beautiful season. It's the season of love and unity. You know, when it comes, well, that's what happens in Nigeria. Welcome to U45 Morning Show. I am Chef DM.
Yes, the program. This very time we'll be taking a new dimension, and the reason is not far-fetched. Yesterday, Afcon, African Cup of Nations, is what is ongoing now, and of course, it is the talk of the town. And right here on Super Screen Television, we will be giving you updates as the game continues. And thank God that yes, our African footballer of the year, Victor Osimhen, did the magic by helping Nigeria, of course, with with a good goal. If not, maybe many of football fans across Africa would have been crying. But I'm happy that he's been able to prove to us that indeed he deserves that very word. So this, of course, will be brought to you by our sports team that will come here and talk about this in details. All of what you need to know about that match is all that we'll be bringing to you today. Yes, so we'll also go into a newspaper review segment quickly, after which we'll bring to you our trends and hashtags that time that you will be listening to all the gist. These and many more is what will form this Monday edition of U45 Morning Show. So quickly, let's go into the dailies.
We'd like to start with the Punch newspaper. The major story on Punch newspaper says major marketers get approval to sell Dangote fuel. The writer says NNPC retails total MRS, others make list, awaits commercial terms. Another writer says Ipman Petron to meet Dangote refinery this week. Marketing deals. Moving ahead to other story, passengers stranded as BRT drivers down tolls over pay. The Punch newspaper. Passengers stranded as BRT drivers down tolls over pay. This can be found on page 6 of the Punch newspaper. To another story, ex-minister's friend offers to pay 50 million naira for abducted Abuja girls. This can be found on page 4 and 5 of the Punch newspaper. Still on the Punch, policemen not permitted to search citizens' phones. Lagos CP. This can be found on page 5. And another story says EFCC. Nigerians want ex-governors to account for 772 billion naira. This can be found on page 8. And the last story on the Punch is Tinubu's trip gulped 3.4 billion naira in 6 months. Government spent. This can be found on page 7 of the Punch newspaper, and that's all I can take on the Punch newspaper.
All right, moving on to Nigerian Tribune. The major headline says PDP, APC set to clash in Plateau. For more story on that, you go to page 22 of the Nigerian Tribune. Another headline says how Dangote refinery exposed Nigeria's shipping inadequacy. You find that on page 6. Another headline says Finance Ministry takes over federal government stakes in 11 discos. Another headline says home prices could strain financial markets as interest rates rise. That's according to IMF. Another writer says NDLEA raids Scooch's factory in Ibadan, intercept large consignment of Canadian loud. Another headline says concerns grow over kidnappings in Abuja. Edo 2024 poll shows 78% of voters support zoning. And the headline says police kill cult leaders in Rivers, bust camp. You find more of that story on page 8. LIRS affirms January 31st deadline for employers to submit annual tax returns. And also, finally, only 23 Nigerian businesses make over $1 billion revenue annually. Well, for more story on that, you'll to know the businesses that make over $1 billion annually. You have to check page 7 of the Nigerian Tribune. And that will be all for Nigerian Tribune.
And now moving on to the Daily Sun, the major headline on the front page of the Daily Sun reads, turbulent times ahead for aviation sector, and the writer says Nigeria loses 40% market share over trapped $800 million high fare compared to neighbors. Jobs, $1 billion revenue at risk as more airlines plan exit from the country. Still staying with the Daily Sun, for more on that story, please check page 2 of the Daily Sun. And another headline reads, Imo agog as Governor Uzodinma begins second term. And the writer reads, Tinubu governor storm Owerri for inauguration. For more on the story, please check page 6 of the Sun newspaper. Supreme Court, mammoth crowd welcomes Governor Yusuf in Kano. And the writer reads, Governor appoints Ganduje, Kwakwanso, Ulamas, others into advisory council. For more on the story, please check page 6 and page 30 of the Daily Sun. Sarah asks Akpabio Abbas to cut 344.85 billion naira NAS budget. That's National Assembly budget. You find a story on page 29 of the Daily Sun. Sale of farms for 2024 UTME kicks off today. That story is on page 30. For students wanting to, write this exam, there's need for you to pick up the Daily Sun so you can check the details. Another headline reads, Don't give up on Nigeria. Obasanjo, Archbishop Chukwuma charge masses. That story is on page 30 precisely of the Daily Sun. And another one reads, a better edu. Ohaneze use cake against the media trial. That story is on page 28 of the Daily Sun. And that's all I can take on the Daily Sun. Endeavor to get it.
Moving to the Nation's newspaper. Court verdicts, APC didn't trade off Kano Plateau. This story has a writer that says it's purely a legal matter. Another writer says victorious governors hail Tinubu's non-interference. That's the major story on the Nation newspaper. Another story says government to change approach on disco's funding. The writer says electricity distributors fail to pay dividend in 12 years. Moving ahead to another story, food forex pressures push inflation on to 29%. The writer says experts hopeful on recovery. Another story says Edo 2024 APC invites Oshiomhole Eze Iyamo, others. The story can be found on page 5, and the writer says, Ikimi, we are with Ihodalu. The last story on this paper says, Wasteful Eagles to win Afcon opener. Wasteful Eagles fail to win Afcon opener. This can be found on page 38 of the paper, and the writer says, Shocker for Ghana and Egypt. That's all I can take on the Nation's newspaper.
All right, moving on now to the Guardian newspaper. The major headline on the Guardian newspaper reads, 10 trillion naira legacy industries rot away amid low earnings, unemployment. The story is on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Now moving on, another headline reads, President Tinubu stop corruption before it kills Nigeria. And this is the editorial of the Guardian newspaper. For more on the story, please check page 16 of the Guardian newspaper. I spent 500 million naira defending my election, says Abia federal lawmaker. For more on the story, please check page 8 of the Guardian newspaper. How age restriction worsens the nation's unemployment crisis. The story is on page 4, and of course that is the news analysis of the Guardian newspaper. And now moving on, 2027 polls, no consensus yet on candidates as PDP, LP, NNPP's merger talk thickens. For more on the story, please check page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. And another headline reads, Serap asks Akpabio Abbas to slash self-serving 344.85 billion naira NAS budget. The story is on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. A Greek finance budget ministers meet on food inflation. The story is on page 9 of the same newspaper. And now moving on, Al-Qadriya, ex-minister Patami's friend, donates 50 million naira to rescue 5 abducted sisters, and that is in their Metro page, precisely on page 12 of the Guardian newspaper. And still staying with the Guardian newspaper, Eagle Cotton Cafe cake makers Dare Bello rejects the position of Chimego Eagle. That story is on page 9 of the Guardian newspaper. And that's it. That's all we can take on the Guardian newspaper. And of course, that wraps it up on a newspaper review segment. The appeal is for us to endeavor to get these dailies, if not for nothing, at least for you to get yourself informed. It is better to be informed, than never. As they say, information is key. And so just get one of it so that you are abreast of what is happening. And so right about now, we will take a short break, and when we return, it will be time for us to go into our strengths and hashtags. So join us again. Well, it's so glad to have you back in still 5 morning show. Yes, it is about that time where you will smile about the analysis on our hashtags and trends. Of course, Shegun is just standing by to lead us in this very segment.
All right, guys, you're welcome. It's hashtag and trends. The first story for today is about Two-Face Idibia, that's Innocent Idibia. He says, "Yo, Lanre, like play, we don't enter 2024. Plenty story for human wish for Naija/Africa music. Take over and respect don't come true." Then he said, "I don't even turn upcoming artist again like this, but we no go gree. Mutsiju." I mean,
that's so funny to me.
I mean, people are saying, when he said this, people are like, boss, you know, be upcoming. You are a legend. You are a legend. But among his peers, he's still the only one that is relevant in the industry. We could recall what was his name, had to retire, had to announce his retirement from music. Terry G. He announced his retirement from music yesterday. Why? Because as at last week, 2 weeks ago, he was trying to come back. He DM'd some people, but they did not respond. So he got angry. Was like, "Well, you guys needed me back then. I was there. I helped everybody. I gave you guys heat. Now you guys are not responding to my chat and all of that. Did no problem. This or then all of a sudden just came out and said, "Look, thank you, my fans. I'm retiring from music officially." You understand? So officially, and for over a period for almost 5 to 7 years, we've not heard anything from the Akpako master himself. But now Two-Face is still relevant and is saying he has become upcoming artist again, meaning he's going to drop another album or single.
Well, they always say that if you're not humble, you will crumble. So I believe that statement by Two-Face is just trying to show that humility in him. And if you really look at Two-Face, he's a very humble artist. Despite all of the money he's been able to make, you don't see him just throwing monies everywhere. And there's less of a scandal when it comes to Two-Face. The only thing you can only say about him is that he's Mr. Enter the Place, which is also used to sing a song. But of course, with time, he's been able to get his footing well, and really, we must give it to Two-Face. Just yesterday, I was still listening to one of his songs that was saying that my brother, now your eye, you go happen, something like that. No shaking, nothing they happen. Nobody won't die, but we won't go heaven. I was admonishing my kids. I started playing it one after the other for them to see how strong his wordings were. Saying that, I said, what is just like he's speaking in parable, and what he's just saying is that everybody wants to be successful, but how many people are willing to pay the price? And we have to understand that indeed life is about a ladder, is one step after the other. So Two-Face Idibia is one artist that I really respect, and this is the reason for which he has continued to be relevant in the industry. And this is also, a pointer for us to know those who have really got it. And just like they say, ability is different from how do you say it now? Your ability.
There's a way. Affinity is better than ability.
Yeah, affinity is better than ability. Yes, because I know all of those lyrics. So let me just say kudos to him. And I would also want the young artists coming up to also take a clue from Two-Face. You see how he's been doing his thing, step by step, and he's been able to rise to this state. I'm talking about Terry G, which you mentioned. Terry G shook everywhere when he was very relevant. And now for him to be throwing to people, it means that the money is still not enough. That's why you keep calling for support. And they will get to a point in life you get to. You cannot call on people for support and they will support you because they will believe that you squandered your money and you didn't even prepare for the rainy days. What do I want to say? In 2024, everybody is going to have their time. There's time and season to everything. All I want to say is when it is your time, you have to be able to save for the rainy days. So these talk about Terry G, they are new blokes. There are new, young, vibrant artists in the block, and you can't just afford to. So the competition is tense now. So if you don't have it, like they say, if you don't get it, then forget it.
Aside, I would like to say that aside from him being looking out for people for money, I think most time it's about the connect. Terry G was looking for people for connections because he has helped people. It's not all about, in this industry, it's not all about money. Connection also matters, and I feel we should also be our brother's keeper. The fact that he was there for these other musicians, we should always be there for each other. You understand? But he threw a tantrum. It's not good to just get angry and just throw in the towel.
No. Okay. So it's not about getting angry, because when he did that, 2 weeks before he brought out his own, Cynthia Morgan came out to say, when you guys needed me,
yes, she was there.
I was there.
Yes.
Now I came to your DM.
Yes.
You did not respond to me. But when you need my sound, you will call me. No problem. Mokusi as they go.
But you know what, Shegun, let me tell you, they say to whom much is given, yes, much is expected. But let me tell you that this same artist that they are talking now, accusing other people for not standing for them in times of need, I think Super Screen should be angrier. Because many of these artists that you're talking about, they all started from Super Screen. The likes of even Terry G himself, he was always coming here, you know, and we sang their praises and everything. And when you're there, how many of them have remembered this station? Now, we are not angry. So why should any artist be angry? And you have to know something in life. When you are given, whenever you're given, do not expect. Don't even expect from the same people you're giving to.
Exactly.
You understand? Just follow law of nature. Do because you want to do, and just, you know, shut your eyes from expectation. But somehow, some way, if you believe, it will come somehow.
And I believe if most of them, what they did wasn't, if they were like someone like Olamide, right? Olamide cannot complain of this same issue. Why? Because Olamide
invested in
people.
In people, yes.
Right? So cast your net upon many waters.
Yes.
For when you draw it, you don't know which will bring. Olamide has soldiers in this industry. He has helped so many people. So if Olamide needs an artist tomorrow, if he needs one artist tomorrow, 15 will respond. Why? Because when they needed him the most, he was there. The issue of Mohbad, if it wasn't for what was this guy's name again that brought it up, we wouldn't know. Reminisce said Olamide connected him to Mohbad. Was like, Reminisce, by fire by force, you must sing with this boy. He says he wants to sing with you. He did not want to sing with Olamide. He wanted to sing with Reminisce, and he made the connection. And he said, Reminisce said, when Olamide sent me his verse, I did not like it, and I told Olamide, look, I don't feel this thing. Then Olamide went to pick up Mohbad at 1 a.m. and brought him to his studio at 1 a.m. Says, yeah, this guy must feature on your song.
And in addition to what you said, Shegun, another thing is also understanding the business aspect of music.
Exactly.
A lot of them have not evolved. Lamide has evolved. So right now you can say that as an artist, he's a producer, he's a promoter. Yes. So you can't expect him to lack. You can't expect him to run dry. And that's why we say that any business you do, try to understand different aspects of that business so that you can also what? You can move.
It's actually called show business. A lot of artists do the show and they forget the
business. I like that.
Quickly, let's look at this one before we call it today. His money and fame will not change me. I am not interested in that. Footballer Sadio Mane's wife, Tamba, insists, because now she's a very young lady who is still in the higher institution of learning. She's still in the university, and then so Sadio Mane went home to marry her, and then after the marriage, you know, someone like Osimhen coming home to marry somebody in Unilag. After the wedding, she went back to school. And then everybody stood still for her.
Oh.
And they sang up because, I mean, for Sadio Mane.
This should be followed by I know the color of love. Seriously. But you know what? That also tells you, ladies, like just she said his money, his fame will not change So the thing is, I think there's a lesson for materialistic ladies to learn from this. I mean, stop chasing shadows. Stop running after the wrong virtue. Run after genuine love. I mean, if you pursue genuine love, it's going to happen for you. I was amazed when my pastor called altar call on Sunday, saying those who are singles or married, you need to save. Almost half of the church. Yeah. And the person was saying, why do we continue to look for that? He knows the reason for which this is. So many of you believe in I never chop. I never chop. You will not allow the man to rest, He said, this year, if you want to get married, please shun I never chop. You want to buy for yourself, buy for your sister, your brother, your house.
If you can
learn to support the man. Learn to encourage him. Not even the way the economy is right now. So a lot of ladies are waiting for that Americana, so to say, that Londoner, that Canadian guy. But the truth of the matter is, everybody will not have that connect. So like they say, that the acronym for this year is I no go gree, right? So in not going to agree, please also learn to support and encourage this man to also say, hey baby, I want to propose to you. Will you marry me? What do you think?
the slogan for the year I no go agree will now come up in that place because this man no go agree. You cannot propose. Last year, 2 years, couple of years back, we've seen incidents where ladies come to propose at the mall and then they turn them down and then they cry. So some ladies have gone into their shell. But I feel when you see a guy that you like, just give him the green light. Don't expect him to read your mood. Give him the green light. Lead him on. He knows what to do from there. I believe.
And if you have the right virtues, definitely
you understand.
The yes will come. All right. So viewers, this is all that we'll take on hashtags and hashtags. I hope we've been able to at least start your day well. And now for sports lovers, this is the time you've been waiting for. Some sporting, Princeville, Joel, and of course our own Solomon Sagir. They're standing by, of course, to host you to the basics of what is happening in this Afcon 2024. And that's it. We took a short break, and the sporting team will be right here. So do not go away.
Good morning. Welcome to you for the 5 Morning Show. We'll be talking sports generally for the next 1 hour. I'm quite sure a lot of you out there are looking towards how the Super Eagles would perform. They've gotten their very first game, but was it very impressive? So much more to talk about. But our talking point this morning will be, how do we use sports to unify the country? It's something a lot of people have talked into, but this morning we'll be looking at it from different dimensions. My name is Prince Wilogisa, the comedy joke. The crew is in the house. Obviously, you will be asking, where's Nike? She's just out. She'll be back after this time out. Solomon Osage is joining me this morning. Solomon, how was it?
I'm good. Great weekend we had over the weekend.
And also, Joel Walker is also joining me. Joel, how was it?
Yeah, not bad. Always a pleasure, but it wasn't a pleasure on yesterday, the game. But all the same. Let's just expect something good from the boys.
I am a little bit amazed. Let me come from this angle that a lot of you expect so much from the Super Eagles. I'm not expecting anything. They say when you expect nothing, you get nothing.
You've always been like that. You've been the octopus Paul all the while, but I don't know if I have to tilt towards your what you said, but I refuse to agree.
Okay, gentlemen, before we actually look at the topic itself, Osage, let me ask you, were you expecting so much from the game that the Super Eagles had with the Equatorial Guinea?
Well, okay, I'll be very candid. I wasn't expecting so much. I expected them to win that game. It wasn't a game that I thought they would struggle, to win. I wanted them to win that game because I know the game against the host nation, Cote d'Ivoire, will be a tight one. Most likely they may not win or draw that game. And then you fight for the last game. Unfortunately, it was a draw, and now they've put themselves in a very difficult situation.
Okay, before Joel comes in, I'll be honest with you. I never expected the Super Eagles to win that game. I stood my ground. I foresaw a draw. It came to pass. And two things were lacking in that particular game. Candidly speaking, I didn't watch that game. Not because it was deliberate. I was engaged in the meeting online. So for the 2 hours that game went on, I was on that meeting till 5:30, but I saw the preview later in the evening. They lack commitment, they lack dedication, and that is not something you want to see of a team that is itching to pick up a continental trophy, especially the very, very best in Africa. I'm sorry to say.
But I get your sentiment, but again, I'll take us back to 2013. If you remember the Stephen Keshi led boys, they started that tournament sluggishly also. If you remember, we managed to get a win, probably 2 draws out of that group, finished with 5 points. It was from the quarterfinals that they were able to pick their momentum and go to the finals. So hopefully these boys are able to motivate themselves and then hit the ground running. For me, I've always said it, my concern will always be the coach, Jose Pasea.
Joel, let me come straight to you. Very optimistic in his statement, Osage, and for you, what do you really think went wrong with the Super Eagles? Because if you watch that game yesterday, every Nigerians were in their various home watching football, and it is sports that has brought almost everybody together, a strong unifying factor, and that's our talking point this morning. And when you don't win as a team, it has a way of actually reflecting on your activities for 1, 2, 3 hours in the day, and that's a very strong one. So what was the expectation yesterday? And what went wrong?
Actually, I was expecting a win, but from the lineup, I noticed a problem because it's always a case of you don't understand the pattern the coach is bringing. You're playing the 4-3-3 formation against a 4-3-2-1 formation, and the players you assembled, they don't even understand the pattern you're playing. They don't. It wasn't clear. The 4-3-2 wasn't clear, and the lineup again was a problem. You're playing the 4-3-3 against a 4-2-3-1. Alain Aino and Zell decided to move up front. How would they beat 5 man attacking you? It's not possible. I was expecting a win. It was a case of individual brilliance that got that even draw yesterday. So
let me stick with you before we talk look at this topic critically. We're playing the host.
Yeah.
And when you play the host, so many things comes against you. Do you actually see us crossing that hurdle?
It will be very, very difficult because you're playing against 12 teams, the referee, you're playing the entire crowd. It's not going to be easy, I must say. And we're playing the same style with the Ivorians, attacking, but being cautious of the middle. They have one of the best midfield as far as I'm concerned in this tournament. 3 quality players, Sangare, Kessie, and Fofana. These guys are top notch in that club. So it's going to be very, very difficult. And even the Alassane that's stepping for NDD, he didn't even do the job. So I'm very sure Iwobi will still be sleeping right as we speak. because it was all over the midfield yesterday. So it's going to be difficult beating the host. So we're in a tight situation right now.
Joel is very correct with a tight situation, but we're coming straight to the national scope. When you talk about sports, how do you unify a nation with diverse culture, diverse language, and diverse interests? Sports has been one strong opium that the government has used to bring everybody together, and so it is almost everywhere in the world. Now, Osage, how do we use sports to unify the nation from the perspective of the governmental involvement, first and foremost?
Well, I mean, it's not far-fetched that sport is a unifier. It has, apart from being a unifier, sport is becoming a global brand. You know, Africa is yet to even scratch the surface when it comes to sport. Unfortunately, when we talk about sport, people are always focused on football. You know, and that's one mistake we make here in Africa. There's a whole lot, you know, of sports out there that are yet to even be discovered, but the Europeans are already practicing it and they are generating revenue. So apart from the fact that sport is a way of uniting the people, which we can see in the case of Africa and especially in Nigeria, when it's time for sport, when it's time for football, I don't remember if you are Alaji Sani, you don't remember if I'm Chukudi. You understand? We're all together and there's one universal language when it comes to sport, especially football, and that is the goal. And there was a research that was done and they found out that goal in English language is actually goal. It's pronounced goal in almost every dialect. You understand? So that's how powerful sport is. Now, for governments to help unify sport and use it as a form of development, number one, they have to be intentional about it. The government have to set up systems and policies that would help develop sport. They have to invest in sport much more than what they are doing, and all sports, not just in football. You know, and then they have to think of how to generate revenue. That's one aspect that has been lacking in our sports. Sport has become a global business. People are cashing out daily. I mean, look at footballers. They are one of the highest paid in the world. That's for football. There's MotoGP there. So sport is big business.
There's even Dambe.
Exactly. You know, so, I mean, there's a whole lot. We can start from grassroots football, from grassroots sport, go back to the schools, inculcate it back in our curriculum. Let's start exporting sports.
Well, I need to bring out something, because when you look at the last word Solomon used, grassroots, sport has nosedived generally in the country. When you consider the rate of development, what it used to be in the 60s, 70s, 80s, where every nook and cranny, you see a field, you see a table tennis, you see the young ones aspiring to become great based on the fact that at that grassroots level, there is this massive competition. But before you come in, sport acts as a powerful tool for unity by promoting social interaction, facilitating cultural exchange, and fostering national pride. Through various sporting activities, individuals from different backgrounds and culture can come together, celebrating shared values and practicing tolerance. And this is what we've been enjoying. But for you, what has really happened to the grassroots level of sports in the country?
Well, some people want to blame it on corruption, which I think is correct, because over time these things happen way back. Let me even use you as an example. I know you played football back in your days, and you were selected by merit to be part of your school team. You played for your school team, but we don't see such happening anymore. We don't see such happening. Even back in your days, you were selected to play your school team. That means there was a program called grassroots program. From that level, to look at young players that can even do your community proud, do the nation proud, in the long while. But we've lost it because of corruption level. We've diverted from that aspect of catching them young, looking at other things that will generate money, oil and all that. So I think they really failed on the issue of grassroots. Because now look at Nigeria, for example. If we don't see our foreign-based players, we don't play football. But we have now looking at the NPFL, we have over 60 players playing there, 60 goalkeepers. Now over 300 players. That means we don't have good players in the country. Now, when you look at other teams in this Nations Cup, they have about 90% of home-based players. That tells you they are developing their sport from the grassroots. Now, look at the trend. In the last 15, 20 years, a lot of teams in Europe are building academies in Nigeria. What does that tell you? They want to even annex what we have because we don't know how to pick them. So, I think government has failed on that aspect. And it has to do with the case of, who the cap fit, let them wear it. A lot of our administrators, they don't even have the integrity, and the technical know-how. So, we need to put people that are in charge, people that knows what it's all about, so they can, look at the grassroots and develop our sports.
Okay, Sabbath, we'll still stick on this grassroots issue, but the question I really want to ask right now is, the government has a specific role to play on grassroots. What role does the individual also has to play if we're actually going to develop sports on the grassroots level?
The truth is, let's call a spade a spade. just to throw my weight in on what Joel has also said, we have seen that government has attempted sports over the years and they have not succeeded. So, and that's where, if they are not stepping aside, we will be calling on corporate bodies and individuals. Some of the notable changes that has happened in football and in sports, you will see that individuals who are passionate about this enterprise have been involved. I mean, look at what happened in Ajegule sometimes last year. You see what was done massively by an individual. And so individuals would have to step in, be passionate about it. But what the government would have to do is to put in policies and systems that can make them run this thing smoothly.
And funds.
And funds, especially without having hiccups. So we cannot take the place of individuals, being involved in our sport that way. That's what is done in other climes. We cannot rely on government. Now, if you look at one aspect that is working in our nation today, it is our entertainment industry. And why is it working? The reasons are not far-fetched. There is no government involvement in it. And our biggest export today, apart from crude oil, is our entertainment.
Very true. Now, Joel, let me quickly ask you this. The government has a key role to play, same as individual. But how do you think the government can use sports to unify the nation? Candidly speaking, with football, generally with football, everybody, it doesn't matter where you come from, be you an Hausa, a Yoruba, a Fulani, an Efik, an Idoma. Once you talk about football, you see everybody coming together on the same table. After football, you disintegrate. How can government use sports to unify the nation?
I think it's simple. One, for example, now looking at the toxic area in Nigeria, the Boko Haram area, the Bauchi and the Maiduguri and all that. Is there anything wrong if you host like a sports festival in that area? It is simple. Not really on where the hot zone.
Just volatile zone.
Yeah. But because at the end of the day, it's a case of a lot of people they want to see things happen. They're tired of even shooting and all that. Now let me take you back to something. Drogba single-handedly stopped the war. The entire Ivorian team stopped the war in Ivory Coast because they told themselves, look, guys, this is the time we need to end the problem in Cote d'Ivoire. After the game, it was the World Cup in 2206, but the qualifying series was played, and Drogba came out and said, look, we qualify for the World Cup, it's time to down tools, for God's sake. You guys should put your weapons down, and let us be happy, let's celebrate. And Drogba and his men, they went to, the volatile area, they went in the toxic area, they hosted the game, right in where the insurgents are. You won't believe these guys, they dropped their gun, they came out to jubilate to the players. That's what we're talking about. Now encourage a lot of grassroots programs, not just grassroots. The sports festival should be concurrently. It should be year in, year out, not just wait for 2 years and all that. So funds should be made available, organize programs, bring people together. Even, do you know that even it was sport that ended the North Korea and South Korea war?
Yeah. True. Yeah.
They used one flag, and that was what ended the war in North Korea. Now they came out as a team. The 1991 2020 championship, they came out as a team, North Korea and South Korea. It wasn't North Korea, South Korea, it was just Korea. So that's what we're talking about. If they have the integrity, they have what it takes, the technical know-how. They know these toxic areas, organize tournaments, local tournaments. You can start going around, let people look, this is what we want to do. Come out, you can do it. I did something way back in my area. It's kind of funny, but it's real. What I did was defend your Adubo. And it was an open competition. Even the mothers can play, the fathers play. Okada men, everybody came together. On the final day, it was massive. No Okada was working. They were all watching football. The community classes were in there. And then I got thumbs up. It wasn't allowed to make money, no, but just to bring community together, bring friends and everybody. So if we can do it, it will surely work.
It will surely work if we focus and give it the honest aspect of bringing sport as a unifying factor. I'll be having a guest joining us in the course of this program. He's an ex-invitee to the Green Eagles of then, the Clement Western of coach. His name is Pastor Tunde Kilani. He's not a pastor, but an astute sport administrator right there in Ajegule. And he'll be talking to us on the need using sports to unify the nation. Let me come back to you, Solomon. Facility-wise, it's almost at zero level. The National Stadium is in comatose. Testing Balogun is in comatose. If we actually want to unify the country using sports, we need to have sufficient facilities. But it's not there. What do you think can be done to revive and recreate new ones in different localities in the country?
Well, again, it's back to what we've been talking about. The reasons why they are not working is number one, corruption. Number two, poor management. Number three, we have people who don't have any business in sports and they are in sports. The government doesn't know how to put a dichotomy between politics and sport administration. They're two different things. You understand? So we just look for one guy in my political party that I want to reward for his support in my political ambition, and you throw him into sport. He's going to ground that industry, and that's what has been happening over the years. We need the right people in the right positions. people who are passionate about this thing, people who have the experience. Even because of their passion, you can send them out to go gather more skills, see how it's been done over out there in Europe, and then bring them back. Now, the facilities, we see the billions that have been invested in building stadiums in Nigeria, and by the time 6 months down the lane, you go back to the stadium, there's nothing to write home about. Poor management. Who are those in charge? I think it's just a Nigerian thing.
Ooh.
Apart from sport, it's a Nigerian thing. We don't know how to maintain things properly. When roads are done, after funds have been disbursed and they're really built, give them a short time, you start seeing potholes on them. So what happened? Poor infrastructures. Look at the train system that later it was found out that it was not the right investment was not done, and I mentioned it was being probed. So these are some of the things we're talking about. Corruption, if it is a disease that has eaten us in this nation, if we can beat corruption, then trust me, it is going to touch every aspect of this nation, and sports will not be left out.
If we can beat corruption, then sports can unify the nation, and Solomon stands on that emphatically. But if talking about sports, you need to make money. Well, in this level, all over the world, sports is big business. How do you think the Nigerian government can actually make good money, or individuals can make good money from using sport as a tool in creating employment?
It's very simple. I love using the word very simple because we know these things. We don't want to do them. Just encourage sport business. That's just what it is. Now, we look at the league in Europe. Now, before I go further, now let me just chip in something. Do you know that Nelson Mandela used sports to actually kill apartheid in South Africa? The Springbok rugby team. And you need to understand that these are people that have won the highest number of Rugby World Cup 4 times in 8 appearances. Mandela actually used the Springbok because back in the days, it's only the whites that plays rugby in South Africa. But today, a mix of white and black. Now, back to what you talked about. It's simple. Encourage sport business. Exploit sport business. We see the Premiership today. You won't believe that the gate takings is less than 10%. What players get as salaries. Gate takings not even included. TV rights, merchandising and all that. Now, when last did you go to the market and get a name by jersey to buy? Or maybe you cannot pillars. Because even if you get it to buy, it might just be a one agbada, you just pull it and it's torn. So you have to encourage sport business, merchandising. Send people out there to go and learn what this is all about. Then come back and inject them into different federations. Then you can grow sport business.
I have a very direct question to you, Solomon. Sports thriving, there's so much money, and government have been playing a key role. Does government have any business in sports?
It's a tough one. For the level we are at now, we cannot rule out the fact that government still has a role to play. I mean, we have zero sponsorship from anywhere. So government is still the major sponsor. They do the funding. And like they say, he who dictates plays the piper dictates the tune. So that's why we're seeing government interference. Even though it's against what FIFA, has put up out there. FIFA wants zero political interference. But when it comes to African football, especially in a country like Nigeria, where we don't have systems in place, and we don't have individuals out there supporting the business of sport, government will still be involved for now. But the vision is government should be looking at ways of how they can start getting less involvement in sports, so that this sport can become a global business, not just in Nigeria but also around the world.
Talking about global business, we see players moving from the South American nation to Europe, and what translates back as transfer tax payment is quite massive. Do you think we can actually get to that level in this country? If you look at the number of youths around the nation who are aspiring to become wonderful great sportsmen.
We can. Recently I did a research on the number of Nigerian players out of this country. We have the highest in Africa, because our players are cut across all over the world, up to Guam. A lot of people don't even believe they play football. Sri Lanka, Pristina, war-torn areas, Kosovo, and the rest of them. And these guys actually get paid. And I think it's simple. You can tell the NFF, okay, fine, look, because there's what they call international transfer certificate. It's called an ITC. It enables you to, it tells the club, look, this guy is qualified to play anywhere. And that document costs money. If a club in Europe tells Nigeria FA, look, I want an ITC for XYZ player, okay, fine, the fee is $1,000. That money can be channeled to development. But now FIFA made it mandatory. Look, there is a certain amount of money that comes to your FA for development of grassroots football, but those money have been spent, outside what it's meant for. We have cases like that. In the grants, subvention that come to Nigeria FA, but hey, this money are being, channeled for the personal use, which is wrong. So I think we can do that if the proper, the people that knows what it's all about have been put in charge. I was showing Tara something recently. I said there's a man that worked with NFF as a storekeeper. This man has been there for the last 30 years. He's still a storekeeper in the NFF. For God's sake, are you the best storekeeper in Nigeria? What happened in 2018? Nike printed over 45 million jerseys under 15 till under 23, the highest Super Eagles. But do you know that Nigerian national team took one color per one type of jersey to the World Cup? The game against Croatia, a player walked up to Mikel Obi and said, look, let's exchange jerseys as souvenirs. Mikel was like, I have just one to give. That tells you the level of corruption. How can you sell Nigerian jerseys abroad? I mean, because the Nigerian jerseys was the best according to FIFA, in terms of colors, everything. Now they were selling those jerseys because after a game you could exchange jerseys, and the law states that 5 jerseys in a game for one particular player, but I had just one jersey. So imagine a player jersey was torn, probably you just go and put on a singlet and play the game. So a lot of things are wrong when it comes to development of sports in Nigeria and sport business. We really have to look into this. I said so, I keep saying it, I'll say it again. We need a revolution in our sport. It's not just football all alone. Do you know that we have a karate team in this country? At some point, Nigeria was one of the best. We had in the last games in Egypt. Egypt are the best when it comes to karate. Egyptians, Angolans. But Nigeria is ranked number 6 in the world. If we have to look at that aspect also, we can train a lot of karatekas. Sure. Go to primary school and secondary school. Let them look. If you love karate, come. You can train these people. Now we're playing rugby. At some point, the Nigerian rugby team was disbanded, but now they're back. How many schools have rugby team? Almost none. No. What about swimming? The last games in the last Nuga games, you had 2 girls that did this, were almost like Michael Phelps, but they've been left. I mean, nobody's talking about them. So I think a lot of things is wrong.
All right, talking about being wrong, that was where I was going to go next. Why do you think sports has failed in Nigeria? 2, what can be done to really sort it? I'm not saying our Super Eagles right there in the Victoria Côte d'Ivoire, a game that everybody expected them to win except me. I'll be honest. It came out as a draw, and there's this sudden negative vibes around the country. So why do you think sport has failed?
Number 1, visionlessness. We don't have leaders that have vision for the game. When you're brought in as a sport minister, what is your vision? Long term, medium term, and short term. What do you want to achieve with sport in Nigeria? That at the end of my tenure, this is what I would have done. This is my goal. This is what I want to achieve. And if I don't achieve it, call me out on it. And then when the next person comes on board, continue with that vision. That's what is working for Europe. That's what was working for other nations.
Zero tolerance policies.
You understand? We don't have vision. To bring in this, I want to bring in that, and at the end of the day they are not able to achieve their goal. They siphon funds and they leave. The next person comes and the vicious circle continues. Vision, number 1. Number 2, zero tolerance to corruption. Whoever is culpable, justice should be brought.
Exactly.
You understand?
Let me come to you, Joel. We're talking about unifying factor. The National Institute for Sports is a center point for bringing in all various coaches for different aspects of sports. Do you think it has been able to meet up with the set goal, the set objective it was established for?
The answer is no. The answer is no, because it's so obvious. The answer is no, because at the end of the day, the coaches that graduate from the NIS, where do they go to? You are supposed to be like an IT, probably to a football team or a table tennis team. Do we okay now? Let me just digress a little bit. Do we have a running table tennis league in this country? No. That's the reason why you see somebody like Aaron Quadri can go to Russia and play. The table tennis league. The coaches from the NIS, how many coaches have gained employment from top clubs in Nigeria? None. You just get a certificate and keep it somewhere, which is not supposed to be like that. So, and now I heard the NIS is affiliated to Hungarian FA. I don't realize that's true. I didn't dig in deep, but that's what I heard. I don't know how true it is.
I know
you were there.
And yes, I was there. I knew there was a time they had this affiliation with the Australian Institute for Sports.
Yes.
That ran for almost 20 years. With the auspices that when you graduate from NIS here, you could travel out to do 1 or 2 courses. Okay. But it has not really worked out as planned.
It hasn't.
For some of us, okay, I think I have my guest right on set right now. Timi Kilani, an ex-invitee of the Green Eagles of 89 set. Good morning, Timi.
Yes, good morning, Prince Will. Good morning to all your analysts in the studio. I hope you can hear me.
Very loud and clear.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
I have a question for you, but before I go into that question, what is your take regarding the game the Super Eagles played yesterday in the Afcon against the Equatorial Guinea?
Well, my take is that, as I can see, the level of commitment for me is not as top notch as I expected. I don't really know what might have got this about. It could be weather factor, I don't know. But the pace with which they played, the certain pace expected from that team. So I don't know if it was a cohesion that was not there. Even you could imagine a Zaidu Sanusi holding on to the ball so long that he was issued a yellow card. So what was the issue? Was it when we watch people playing football, even on the street, you don't hold on to the ball when you want to throw for long. There must be one or two people running around to give you options. So for me, I see that the players themselves, they are not really as top notch as I expected concerning yesterday's match.
Sitting, please. Okay, thank you very much.
Come, please. Yeah.
True cuts from your face.
Okay.
All right,
Can you
thank you
see
very
me
much.
better?
Okay, the question is this. We had a game yesterday, everybody was involved. How can the government use sports to unify the nation?
Wow. As it is, sports as especially football is a unifying factor in Nigeria as it is. When we are doing anything that has to do with sports, you discover that a lot of people forget about their tribe and religion. We really go all out to support our own. So the government can, leverage on this, especially from the grassroots. Sometimes I feel it's the elites that just want to bring about the division, as it were. But when it comes to sport, especially, I could say, if I want to really be specific to my own constituency, which is soccer, football, is a serious unifying factor. When we play, whether on the street, on the field, we don't want to know where you are from. What we want is to play good football and win. And so it unifies us. And so the government can leverage on this to see how they can really put square pegs in square holes, so that we will all have a sense of belonging. The way it is now, many are beginning to turn away from sports, as it were, which we normally should find soccer, which the government should have used as a leverage to unify us. We are beginning to have this apathy now, because we see that government is not really putting the square pegs in square holes. Thank you.
Standard you must attain to be in the Super Eagles. Suddenly there's a barrage of foreign players coming to the Super Eagles. What do you think has brought about this?
Well, for me, I think it's about the publicity that is given to these foreign people, the foreign players. They are Nigerians and they qualify to play. But there is this never say die attitude that a normal Nigerian that grew up from Nigeria has. I'm thinking that is lacking in some of these our foreign teams, also for rather foreign players. There is this Nigerianness, this never say die that we usually have. And because a lot of these players that are foreign based, that grew up especially outside Nigeria, some of them might not have this mentality. The mentality that says that I'm going to succeed in spite of the challenges that I have. But it seems like our players, of the foreign based players, the ones that are picked from abroad that are Nigerians, I don't see that mentality with a lot of them. I don't see that never say die attitude. When we were playing and you are 1 goal down, or you have not even scored and you are playing the so-called lesser teams, you will see that never say die attitude come into the fore. But these days, with the way the teams play, it's just like a routine. They are not so bothered. It seems they don't have that zeal, as it were, and that's why we could say maybe they are not committed. So for me, I think there is need to spice up that team with some of the home-based players, those that grew up and were born in Nigeria, that are home-based, because they have this hunger and this drive. You could see the pace with which the Ghanaians played. You could see the pace with which the Moroccans played, even though they lost, even though they drew. What Nigerians, I believe, want is a situation where you draw or lose, you know that you have given your 110%. But in a situation where it seems like people are giving 50, 70%, it's not good enough for Nigerians. And I believe that this is the difference between those that are born, that are Nigerians, that are not from Nigeria, as it were. That's what I think. Thank you.
Before I let you go, Tini Kilani, I need to ask you, having known that sport is a unifying factor, and we have mirage of problems, what do you think can be done? What do you think the government can do to actually ease up certain environment for sports to thrive?
Well, we keep saying that we want to, get foreign direct investment into Nigeria. And when we say that, we want to create the conducive environment to make these investors thrive, so that they will feel comfortable to bring their funds, as it were, into the country. The same way, we need to know that what the decisions we take, the policies we make from the top, some of those policies are about the people we put from the sports, the person that becomes the sports minister, for example. It should not just be just a random person. It should be somebody that knows sports, that has done sports. He said, he who feels it knows it. Somebody that has done sports, that has studied, because it's not enough to be an ex-footballer. You also need to study administration to an extent, or at least know about administration. You would have had antecedents. But in a situation where we just put some people in positions that do not really know how to, manage sports, it's a big problem. And it has really affected us in all spheres of our sports. Development cannot come about when you don't have people that know that development is one of the ways to make sure that things work. From the grassroots, we have lost it, because a lot of emphasis is placed on just the national team. There is need to put those people at the helm of affairs, that we be able to put the right people at the right place. So it's going to be a whole lot of things done. The holistic approach is very important, and it's the top. Thank you.
My question goes to us. Back in your days, I know you were called by merit. Now it has to do with who you know in the FA. You have a godfather and all that, and how much do you have? Because we've seen situation where, to play under 17, you have to lobby the coaches millions of naira, which we have facts. Now, how do we eradicate that on the grassroots level up to the senior level? Because I know we've had situation whereby it's not the coach that draws the team list, it's the FA, which we all know how it is in Nigerian system. So how do we eradicate such such issues not to crop up anymore?
Well, the way to eradicate this, for me, it's making sure that we put people, because they say Nigerians are corrupt, but we still have people that are steadfast, that are not corrupted by the system, as it were. So if we're going to have such persons, because formerly I was speak from reinsurance when I went to play the financial games at Port Harcourt. I and Awala Jumbo, we played, and we were even in the same room at the national camp. It was Westerhoff. We didn't even know Westerhoff was in the stadium. But he saw us playing and he invited us to the camp. It was based on merit. As it to pick the right boys. Every day I see good materials where I live in my environment, which is like I see a lot of materials, but don't see the right materials because they don't have godfathers. So the way to eradicate that is make sure that from the care. So scouting is important. But today you see that because they don't have, they don't have deep head managers that are managing them, they will not be invited to the camp. And thereby we are not using our best hands. So in order to eradicate this, we need to have people that will put the country first. And that when you have the right materials, the people, irrespective of their connection, that can be the better. So that is one of the main ways I see, but it all boils down also to the top. The people we put at the end of affairs is very important.
Thank you very much.
But before you go, let me ask you, do you see the Super Eagles progressing from the group stage or eventual winners of the Afcon 2023?
Well, the way it is now, I don't want to be pessimistic and I don't want to be seen as not being patriotic. In my heart, I wish they could, pick the trophy. But as we're going, if we qualify from this group, it's going to be on a probability. Because except they up their game, they might not go past the quarterfinals. Thank you.
89 sets, coached by Clement Westerhoff. Thank you for joining the show this morning.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
All right. We've had Timi Kilani. He's an astute sport administrator. He's a coach. He's also a consultant. And his hood he was talking about is no other place than Apapa Ajegule. He played for Benin Insurance, played for NNPC. He also traveled out and did some few touch here and there, but he's back home for over 20 years, putting in his very best within the locality he finds himself. We're talking about using sport as a unifying factor. Solomon, let me come back to you. He spoke about something, conducive environment. Do we have the conducive environment for foreign investors to come in to stabilize sports as an interest that cuts across every tribe or ethnicity?
Well, in all fairness, I think we do. Because the foreign investors have been coming, but we need more of them. They've been coming. Are there bottlenecks? Absolutely there are. But we do have the enabling environment. It can be better, and that's what we're telling the government. Make the environment more conducive so we can attract foreign investors and take our sport to the next level.
All right, Joel, he also said something that was quite pertinent. He spoke about the media hype for the foreign players that are in the Super Eagles. Who is to blame? Is it we, the media, or we just feel that? Because I think from what he said, there is a negative projection for the home-based players. We give more spotlight to the foreign players. Who is to blame?
Oh well, I think administrators has to be blamed. Administrators. Sometimes I won't want to blame those that are abroad, because even if they have a lot of money to throw around to to the media, hype them and all that. For example, let me use like Alassane, the replacement for Ndidi. Alassane, Yusuf from Royal Antwerp. From my research, this man has not played any game for a long period.
Before you go on, I was reading through a write-up just this early morning. Somebody says the new N'Golo Kante. How can you call somebody N'Golo Kante when he's in Nigeria? Where does that mix up?
Probably N'Golo Kante is his mentor, I can tell.
No, I think they're probably talking about. I've heard a lot of reactions concerning his performance yesterday. The truth is, majority of Nigerians feel that he was good. That he was energetic. He reminds them of N'Golo Kante.
Or was he in the game?
Well,
you know, Solomon, I was waiting for us to get to the sports segment in the afternoon, then I'll talk about the Super Eagles emphatically. That team lacked creativity yesterday.
Exactly.
That team lacked focus. And when you talk about creativity and focus, it is an external embodiment when it comes to the nation, because if you're not focused, we'll get to where we are today. If you're not creative, you and I will be doing what we're doing today.
Yeah.
As a national team, they represent 200 million plus that team lacked the need to be champion.
Anyways, yes. Now, like what you asked, the media hype. Now we talked about Nigerian Premier League not being seen on TV. That's part of what we're talking about. Now, for example, a player from Enyimba can send a mail to Manchester United and say, "Look, my name is this. I'm a very good player." How do we confirm that? When you don't have a database, we can't even see the player details on YouTube. You can't even find him anywhere. So I think the administrators and the media has a lot of questions. I mean answers. So questions to answer when it comes to that aspect. And something I was talking about unifying factor. I remember what happened in 1969. Was that 69? Yeah, Pele and his team from Santos. Okay, they were in Nigeria. Yes, and that stopped the war for a particular period. Exactly. So that's what we're talking about, which the government can really leverage on this. We can end a lot of crises here and there if we can put our acts together. Have like he said, have square pegs and square holes. The problem again is, who are the people in charge of these offices or the federations?
That's exactly what I was coming to. If you take a look, if you go around the vicinity where we have to take the back, there are a lot of private schools, but there are no playgrounds. And when you go to the public schools where there used to be playground, they've all been converted to either a hall or something else. Now, for you, Solomon, one of the things the government needs to do to turn around this, to give sports the right place it used to have. Because if you look at those schools, you have people from different tribes, people from different religion. But yet, when it comes to time for PE, which we used to call physical education, or time for entire sports, everybody comes to the ground. So what do you think that done to renormalize this duality?
Well, it's true. I mean, if you look at sporting days in our school, in schools today, it's all colorful with the children wearing their colorful outfit, but there's really no playground for them to practice, and get dirty in the mud like it was for us back in the days. There were fields everywhere. I played football to the point that my mother would come to the field to cry.
I thought it's basketball because you're tall.
Football. I wasn't this tall then.
Okay.
But you see, the government would have to be intentional if we are to get that passion back. There's a guy that we played together on the street. At some point, he represented Nigeria in gymnastics. He was that good. They are all from schools, from primary school, secondary school. So the government have to be intentional, go back to these schools, expand their structures if need be, create more playground for them. Like there's this advert in one of our detergents. They say the children would not learn if they don't get dirty.
Yeah.
You understand?
I don't want to mention it.
Exactly.
I get you.
They have to get dirty. So you have to give them that enabling environment, and it will also help them to be smarter. So this onus is on the government first, and then to private individuals. We can, apart from their schools, we can have central parks. We can have junctions, T-junctions that can be beautifully done like a pitch for basketball, for football.
This thing you just mentioned, I spent quite a larger part of my life in Festac. The design of that estate was basically parks, family relaxation.
Absolutely.
Now, the field were there, but could you believe that right now as I speak with you, the whole of Festac has been converted to those parks and field, to mini shops, to town halls and private buildings, and kids don't have anywhere to go to.
That is it. That's why they're always on their phones or they are watching cartoons.
Yeah.
Okay, for you, Joel, we agree that sports is a unifying factor, and if we're going to have it done properly, everybody needs to be involved.
Yeah.
Do you really think there's a need to look at the generational gap between what has happened in the 70s, 80s, take a cue from that, what is happening right now, considering the fact that technology has taken a very great toll on our lives, take a cue from that, merge it together and march forward.
That's just it. That is just it. Now, I remember a Nigerian player that signed a club in Belgium. I think it's Wasu Ikpai. And it was taken to the club gallery. Right, they have like a gallery where, yes, it has like a gallery where you see a lot of ex-players.
What you just said, I'm going to bring my the studio.
Okay.
I just spoke to him 4 days ago.
Now, he actually signed to a Club Brugge, and they took him to the gallery. And the club president told him, look at these players. Look at that particular player. His name is Dan Anokachi. Can you replicate what he did for us? And the guy was like, said, yes, he can. That's what we're talking about. How many of our players know who Rashidi Yekini is? What are they players? Because we don't have how we could see these things that happened before, try to fuse it to, like me, sometimes I don't like watching football because I'm like, these guys are not bringing anything new. Pele have done a lot of the skills Neymar is doing now. True. A lot of Z could have done this stuff. Mathematical UM have done this stuff. The great Brabamaja and the likes. But what is happening right now? It's all about the money. Yeah. So the passion is gradually dying.
Now, there's a critical factor too the angle of using sports as a unifying factor. The heroes of our past. There are still some of them, right? And some of them, when you see them, you're like, do you really represent this country? The state they are is quite deplorable.
Mondo Diaka.
What do you think? Yeah, Mondo Diaka, the coach.
I'm sorry to say that.
No, it's okay. I've spoken to Mondo Diaka, I've spoken to Wasiu Pane, I've spoken to Waidi Akode in respect of the Nations Cup. It's only Waidi I'm not able to get to ground, but for Wasiu, Bonde, Jobo Awala, when you mentioned Jobo, I was very excited just now. It's someone I know very well. But for you, what do you think can be done to bring back these past heroes as an emblem for the young ones to look at them and aspire?
Number one, we need to give them visibility. They need to be known. Like what we're doing in Super Screen, bring them on board. Let them be seen. Oh, this is the guy. My grandparents used to talk about him. My dad used to talk about him. These younger ones have not seen this guy. There are no clips of them. There was no internet back then, no YouTube. So they are not known. You understand? And number two, these guys were playing more for passion. So they were not concerned about the media. Thank God for media now. So let's give them that visibility. Let's bring them on board. Let's interview them. Let's go back to YouTube and see if we can find any clip, from previous. I watched the 1980 what's it called? Nations Cup final. And
that just
yes, and there were a lot of comments on that clip on social media. And a lot of people said they were just seeing that video for the first time.
Wow.
It was a full 90 minutes. And it was fantastic, and that's what we're talking about. So the current generation, they've not been privileged to know the previous generation. So the media has work to do in that aspect.
And just to add to what you just said, sorry. Now, look at what happens in Europe. United Nations, they have a team, an all-stars team. Every organization have all-stars team. Even WHO, they come together. They bring in Zidane, Radio, a lot of these ex-players from different cultural tribes, Okocha and the rest of the Michael Essien. They play games. Now those monies are directed to like charity. And after the games, you see this guy go to Wharton area, play with the kids and all that. That's what we could do in Nigeria.
Talking about unifying the nation using sport as a tool is something that you can't just take away. And this morning, I'm very sure those of you watching us from anywhere will agree with me that sport is a very strong opium if you want to bring this country to where it's supposed to be. The strength, the weaknesses, the energy, the different drive that will take us to that El Dorado. Sport is it. Gentlemen, I want to say a very big thank you for being here this morning.
Always a pleasure.
Also, big thank you to Timi Kilani, an ex-invitee of the Green Eagles of Den. Let me quickly use this opportunity to let you know that our in-house analyst is going to be fully decked up with ex-internationals who have played the game. I'm talking about Peter Nekete, Jobo Awala, Pastor Kilani, you saw him there, Mondo Diaka, Waidi Akode, and a lot of other ones that will lay our hands on to come in here so that you can see them and they'll talk about Afcon. That's how we'll round up the show this morning on U45 Morning Show. Till we see you again tomorrow, and Nikki and the crew will be here. I want to say bye-bye for now, and my name is Prince Olivier. Do have a wonderful day.